Hello, fight fans, and welcome to the Combat Challenge podcast. Today's guest, he's a flyweight fighter under the Cage Warriors Fighting Championship promotions and is better known as the Hand Grenade, CONER HIGNETT. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. That nice one.
Before I start getting into it, my friend, I need to know, and I ask a lot of people the same question, the fight name, how did that come about with the Hand Grenade?
See, I had a different fight name when I was a kid. I don't know, you might have announced it on some shows, that the New Sensation. And I used to walk out to the song New Sensation by NXS, the shittest walkout song ever. But eventually it can't be the New Sensation forever. So Sean ended up changing, my coach. And he said, you've got a bit of power in your right hand. Why don't we just call you the Hand Grenade? And I went, yeah, you know what? That's all right. That. We went to go to Jordan to make me pro debut on Cage Warriors. I was thinking, I'm going to use this Hand Grenade proper good. I was going to get stickers all over it. I was thinking, what the fuck? We can't go to Jordan with grenade stickers all over my suitcase. I'm going to get seized. So I thought, nah, I'm going to have to change that now. But it stuck in the end. Made up it did. It's a decent little name, like.
It is, and it suits you because on some of your fights, you do display a lot of strength with your striking. So it does suit you, right?
I've got a little bit of power, like, but I don't know. People tell me it's hard, so I'll just go along with whatever they say. I don't really judge it for myself. I just like the way it sounds. People go, oh, it's Hand Grenade.
Well, for somebody who's a flyweight, which is in kilos, is that 61?
No, it's 57, 56.7 for championship weight, yeah. Wow. Very, very lightly.
That's mad, is that, man? How do you cut down to that?
You know what? I've struggled a few times with my weight cuts. I was fighting Sam Creasy, 2017, I think it was.
Is that the lad with the longish wavy hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does look like the Black Eyed Peas fella. Me and him had a little joke about it, to be honest. And then he beat me, so you know what? It's karma. So I had a tough weight cut against Sam. He was the ex-world champion, and I was just 8 kilos in 2 days. I had to cut. It was too much for me. I ended up spewing blood in the sauna. I went into shock in the night. I had to end up drinking. Stood on the scales. I was physically crying because I was in that much pain, but I just couldn't make the weight anymore. And then since then, Paul Reed got in touch with me, my nutritionist, and he's my manager now. And he's just got me weight bang on, lad. He's done all my macros and everything. So the last 3 fights, I've been on weight the day before, and I've been eating breakfast of the morning of the weigh-ins. I've just been thinking, this is the best way to do it.
And I think for you, mentally, that'll put you in a good place, right?
It does, yeah. You feel so much fresher. And I think that's what Floyd Mayweather used to say about his career. He feels like if you cut less weight, you can go the longer distance in the rounds. But I've got to find the happy medium still at the minute. Especially in that last fight, I felt like Armisinger was just that much heavier. Like, even though I might have had a bit more explosive power towards the end, he was just using his weight through the whole fight that much more. And I've got to find that little medium ground where I can just put that little bit more size on and still have the endurance to go. It's all just learning, like, so I'm looking forward to getting back in there and showcasing.
And it's good that you've got somebody like Paul on board who's got your interest at heart from both angles, both as a manager and also someone who works through your nutrition, right?
Oh, mate, he's just one of the nicest people ever. He'll do anything for anyone, Paul. So he's got me in up to a level with my strength and conditioning where, lad, I can't be any better with my strength and conditioning coach wise. He's just perfected it. He's doing a lot of online classes now with mental health as well, and dietitian stuff. He himself's got diabetes, so he understands it all to do with this. So I can't think of a better person to actually work with, and plus his connections that he's got. You know, he could get people to good places, and if I work well with him, fingers crossed it's going to work out for me. Like, but it's just all about teamwork at the end of the day.
Yeah, for you, I mean, at the end of the day, Conor, you're a product, you're a commodity, and as long as you know you're sellable and you're working and you're winning and you're doing well, then Paul can use that as a tool to get you somewhere, right?
Yeah, it is about selling, and that's where a lot of fighters they do create a different type of ego. Like, I'm not going to mention any names, but you get a lot of people online who could be totally different to your face. And that is part of the selling. Maybe that's what I need to do a little bit more, but I don't really want to go down that path. I'd rather just stick to who I am and shit like that. So
yeah, I think it depends on the fighter and what they represent. Look, let's talk about Khabib, for example.
yeah,
He doesn't create an ego, does he? He doesn't, sell
doesn't need
himself
to.
somewhat different than what he is, and that stood him in good stead, right?
It's going in there, just knowing what you've got to do. There's certain ways to do it, and it again, it's recognizing patterns. My BJJ coach, Conor Martin and Tony Bebbington, they're very philosophical what they do, and if you can make a person make the same routines, then your routines are just going to become so much more easier. You're going to work different positions. That's all Khabib does, really. Get that takedown, lace them legs up, get the arm. And I feel like if I can figure that out in the striking game, in the wrestling game, that's going to make me a little bit better than everyone else as well. But the thing is, we're all at it. We're all fighting for that next top position. So it's finding that extra edge over someone, I think, now. It's all right looking at everyone in the UFC, but what are the people in the UFC not doing still? What can we do to make ourselves even better than them? And
that's right. And you mentioned Khabib, and one of the things he does is he laces those legs. I did a podcast with Shuaib Yusuf, and I was talking to him. I said, when I did my research, and one of the fights he had was with a lad called Hassan Talal. And he did the same with him, because as Hassan kicked, he grabbed the leg, double leg shoot, took him down, and then laced the legs, and he was struggling. Hassan was literally struggling because his back was against the cage and he couldn't get his legs out. And like you say, we're trying to emulate and get better, but have a fixed plan, right?
That's it. And I've had that done to me as well. Luke Shanks is very, very good at that. He was the former Cage Warriors world champion. And I fought him. That was a pretty close fight, to be fair. But whenever he was getting the takedown, he'd just get me against the cage. He'll lace the legs. As I was basing up, he'd just feed the arm through. 3 simple steps, and that's just shut me a whole game down. So I'm thinking, if I can start doing that to people, that could be the difference over them. But there's ways around everything, isn't there? I suppose there's ways to beat Khabib. It's just no one's figured it out yet.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, it's a puzzle, right? And it just needs to be solved.
It's a big jigsaw that can fit in so many different shapes, so many different places. It's just finding that little magical place.
You mentioned your jiu-jitsu that you do with the 2 coaches. Myself and the viewers will be interested, Conor, in your MMA journey. And this is a question that I ask everyone that comes on. If you can talk us through where it started, what kind of triggered it, what sort of disciplines that's ended up where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I originally started when I was about 5 years old doing karate. But didn't start for long. I hated it. I just walked into the gym. My dad took me because I had ginger hair and didn't want me to get bullied in school. So then he put me in there, and they've all been screaming, doing karate, and I thought, get me out of here. He made me do about 3 sessions. Didn't like it. Ended up going to school. Got a little bit bullied for being ginger, which it was the right thing to do for my dad to take me to karate. But up until I was about 11, that happened, and then since then I started karate. And my coach John Bell, and John Bell was one of the best coaches I've ever had in my life. He's shown me what it is to actually be able to fight and to stand up for yourself and stuff like that. And he gave me good discipline as well. And he's helped me a lot with how I teach and stuff like that. So I'm grateful for that. I done karate from about 11 years old up until I was 17. I ended up.
Which one did you do, Conor? Was it Kyokushin or Shotokan or?
Shotokan karate, yeah. But I enjoyed the sports side of it more than anything. I didn't really like the basic katas and stuff like that. It wasn't my cup of tea. I was all about the fighting and that. And in the end, what actually happened was John Bell started doing a Thai boxing class when he was about 13, 14. But it was only for the adults. And I just love fighting. So he said, you know what, just get in this class and just spar the adults. You might get done in, but at the end of the day, it's going to make you better. And I did get done in, but I just kept on going. I just loved it. My dad loved going with me. And then eventually he got in contact with Sean Martin, who was just starting his own MMA gym in Highton at the time. And he said, why don't you come teach us some ground stuff, Sean? Sean was made up to come down. Came down straight away. And then from then, Sean said, right, you need to come to my gym. And I went to Hammer, started in Hammer when I was 14, and I got absolutely battered everywhere. I used to hate that. I came home every day with 2 black eyes, thinking, it's not for me, this. I'm just not made to be a fighter. But then, you know what, you stick at it. And eventually the people that was battering you will get them back eventually. It's it's calmer. It's calmer in time. And that's led me to where we are now. And I think that I needed them little journeys to figure out, like, it's not always going to be easy. You're going to have to fight for stuff. You're just going to have to keep trying and trying and trying until it actually does work out. And that's coming handy with a lot of my fights as well. Sometimes you're in the deepest, darkest waters and you just need to keep pushing no matter what.
Because you'll get some fighters who are really good fighters or sparring partners in the gym, but in that deep water, they really struggle when it comes to, although they'll have the tools in the tool bag, but when it comes to competing under the big lights, they struggle, right?
Well, I've got a great quote that relates to that. I was fighting on a show called ACB, Beyond ACB, won't you?
Yeah.
And Carl Prince was over there with one of his lads, I forget his name, who was saying the pressure affects so many different people differently. Some people thrive under it. Some people can be amazing in the gym, but as soon as them bright lights are on you, it's totally different. So we was thinking, why does that matter? And he said, well, think of it this way. All right, having sex with a girl, and you can bang a girl. Yeah, it's all right, yeah. He went, well, try banging the girl in front of 10,000 people, mate. Let's see if we can get an hard on then. I went, you know what, mate, that brings the light to it. You're like, when that pressure's on, when you think everyone's looking at me, everyone's going to be judging me, everyone's going to be talking about it, good or bad, and the fact that you've got to walk into the gym the next day, win, lose, draw, people will be judgmenting you. And I suppose that you need to get that out your head to become one of the best fighters. You can't be relying on other people's judgments to make you happy. You need to just be fulfilled in yourself. And sometimes, like, even after you lose fights, I think you just got to take the positives from them and then work with the negatives. People focus on the positives the negative too much, and lets too many people get in their ears, I think so. I don't want to be anymore.
Definitely, I agree. And that's a really good example that he gave you there.
Well,
I think there's only a select few people that can do that sort of stuff in that industry.
Tell you what, I wouldn't be fighting if I could do that.
You mentioned Sean, and you mentioned a couple of other people. Can you tell me those coaches that had a significant impact in your life and why, as you've gone on your journey?
See, there's been a lot of good coaches in my life, but I'd say the main ones, John Bell, he gave me everything to do with me striking at the start. He gave me good discipline. Sean adapted me to MMA, and he really expanded it. So even though I wasn't the best fighter when I was amateur, I had heart, and he'd be able to sell that. He'd be able to get me out there, and I ended up winning a few titles off it. So I'm ever grateful to Sean. He was my manager for a while as well when I first turned pro, and he's led me there for years. But now in our gym, it's me and Sean Martin's son, Conor Martin, who's took it over. Conor's only 20, but he's one of the best BJJ coaches I've ever been with in my life. Like, it sounds like I'm chatting shit because he's my best mate, but at the end of the day, I've never grappled with a person who's put me in that much danger all the time. And until you actually go with him, you won't understand. So for me to have him in my corner, that gives me extra confidence already. I think he was grappling with one of Hodger Gracie's lads over in Bellator, and they said, listen, you are next level. And he's only a purple belt at the minute. But really? He's teaching all the classes in our gym. And he's really pushing the jiu-jitsu, like. And as for the other BJJ coach, Tony Bebb, he's our overhead black belt. And he's just like a book of philosophy. Like, he makes you think about why you do the things that you're doing instead of just doing them.
Yeah.
Which I think is a massive part of jiu-jitsu as well. It's like, you don't need to move something there. Why would you do it? Why not just take the easiest as possible? And it's just simple stuff like that eventually I believe will make the difference. But without these people in my life, then I'd have no chance. And even Paul Reed, you know, without his nutrition, without his knowledge of how the body actually works, I wouldn't be the fighter that I am today. I'd be some crackhead just throwing haymakers. But you can make me into these people. I think of it as we're all just a character in a UFC game in real life. You know, when you got someone that good in your corner, they can just tell you what to do, and you can just do it effortlessly. You don't even have to think about it. It should just become natural to you. And a lot of fighters struggle with that connection with the coach. You know, you see a lot of fighters falling out and stuff like that, which that's not healthy. I mean, the best I've ever seen live for that was Arnold Allen. We was watching his cornerman. I can't remember his cornerman's name, but everything he was saying, Arnold Allen was just doing elbow, throw the elbow, pass guard, easy, just pass guard, and it was like, how is that easy? You know, it's just conditioning yourself to work with all the people around you, and you're gonna get the best results then, aren't you? Especially if your overall game is actually good, you know, not just some little toss pot, just swinging digs.
Well, you're right, because with that takes not just a moment, but that takes years and hours and hours and hours of training where you have full confidence in your coach. So even though you might be stuck in a position where you don't have that peripheral vision, right? And your coach can see it, and then he or she tells you to do something, you've literally got that split second to do it because the person underneath may be hearing it as well and having that confidence in your coach, right?
Oh, one of Sean's favourite shouts in the corner is "Listen to the other lad's corner." That's all he says. Sometimes you're like, "Come on," but what you're saying there is right, and I think it's knowing the individual as well. You know, one thing that might work for one person might not work for another. One of my mates, Michael Jewell, he's 6'4". He's not going to be able to scramble out the same way. But when you've got a good coach, they'll understand that, and you can work different parts of the area. So it's just finding that right person who just feels comfortable with you, mate. That's the main thing, I think.
I've been at shows where I've emceed it, and Sean's been in the corner. Sometimes I've said to him, "Brother Sean, it looks like bust a blood vessel because it goes right red and he's got these veins pulsating out." And he's proper intense, isn't he?
Those beetroots. It's just so because he's so passionate about it, though. Fair play to him, like. But
and what is it about Sean? What is it about Sean that cemented that relationship with him that you think will last for many years to come?
At first, it's because I was just like a normal kid from Ayton, and he was just a normal kid from Ayton when he was growing up. You know, we didn't have nothing big, and I think he just seen something in me where he thought, this kid's got a bit of heart. I want to see this kid do well, and we just stuck together over time. And you know what? To be fair, I've been there since I was 13, 14 years old, and I'm the only fighter left to start. Everyone else has either given up or fucked off to another gym. Like, fair play to them, they need to make that decision for themselves, but that wasn't my cup of tea. I'd rather stay loyal, see where I can get. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, then I would have to do something like that. But I believe the fault's in myself, not just my coaches. I can always get a new coach to bring in a different game, but it's up to me to make that decision. You know, it's me in the cage at the end of the day. I can't go around blaming Sean for a loss or Conor for a loss. It's all down to me. So I'm happy to work with Sean for the rest of my life. He is the top coach. He's done a lot for me. I think that's what's missing a lot in the MMA game. You know, you see loads of people going to other gyms because they've lost the fight. Well, it's not your coach's fault. You was in that fight. That's weakness in your mind. That's not your coach. You need to improve yourself. When people figured that out, they might get a little bit better. But I'm saying that I'm coming off a loss. Maybe I need to figure shit out. But I'm on that journey now, so I'm pretty happy, to be fair.
The coaches make a big difference in your life, and also when you're competing and in your corner. It's interesting you mentioned that, because with Mike Perry, he kind of got rid of his corner team, didn't he? And he ended up getting, was it his girlfriend in?
It was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened there, but in the UFC, come on, you can't be doing that, lad. How was you going to get away with it? It's bad enough when you see them MMA shows, you know what I mean? Someone's bed's in the corner, you're like, it's padding him. Padding him with the flip-flops.
What I don't want to see, Conor, on your next fight on Cage Warriors, I don't want to see you and your lass in the corner and Sean sat in the audience eating popcorn.
With a little hand grenade top on.
The last fight you had was against Adam Amarasinghe?
Yeah, Adam Amarasinghe, I think that's how you say it.
Can you talk to me about the preparation for that fight and where it was, and talk us through the fight, please?
You know what? I had a really good fight camp for that one. I was just coming off a win over Darren O'Gorman. Darren fought Adam the fight before me, and it was a pretty close fight. But I thought there's a few little holes in his game. I could pick it off. We were working the strength and conditioning lows because we didn't know he was going to be strong, and we knew he was going to be a technical fighter. We knew he wasn't going to stand and that he was going to wrestle. So the whole fight camp was based around that, but I had a few injuries and niggles coming up to that fight. The weight cut was perfect, but I ended up pulling my neck, my trap here, about 3 weeks before. And you know what? I've always done it. It's just like one of them wrestling things where your neck just goes. But this one was just completely different. I thought it would be going away. It just didn't work out. It actually went in the fight when I was throwing the right hand. So I had to change the game plan then. But that was a little bit putting off in camp. I was thinking, should I do it, should I not? And then when you're fighting on shoulder cage, you don't want to pull out because you've got a trapped nerve in your neck. It's not really a good enough excuse. It's my career. That lad's working for something. I'm working for something. I want to get the fight done. Looking back in hindsight, it might have been a good idea, but I didn't lose just because of that. I lost because I made other mistakes. So that's what I need to work on next. And the way the fight went down, it was a half exciting fight, but he done what he needed to do. He knew that I did pack a bit of power, and he out wrestled me, got me against the cage. He used his hips heavy, and he was smart. And fair play to him. I think he lost his last one against Sam Creasy again, who I mentioned before. But that was another cracking fight. I was looking at that thinking, I can see gaps in their game. Why aren't I beating these? So I'm just going to make a few little adjustments. I'm working with a few more people now. Hopefully going to come back bigger and stronger next time. I've got a new kickboxing coach called Richie Lunt as well. He's like 9 times kickboxing world champion. Wonder Boy style. So hopefully that's what we'll be seeing a bit out of me. I'm not going to tell too many secrets, but I want to be a bit more elusive in there.
Wonder Boy's got a bit of like a taekwondo sort of stance, hasn't he?
Yeah, you know what? He is very crafty, but it's a different type. He's a lot more side on with it. And shows kind of it's a bit more strength. Everything's going to be solid. And if you punch them, you want to kill them. In his type of karate, it was just, I'm going to hit you so much until you eventually bleed or give up or die. Like, it's just going to weigh you down. And it's hit and not being hit. That's another thing that I need to do. Because I'm so small, I'm so used to having to get in the range and I'm slipping and dodging. By the time I've landed one shot, they've landed 3 on me. So, it's shit, lad, to come out looking like Quasimodo. So I've got to get the new me on the go, a bit more elusive, a bit more fast.
The great thing listening to that, Conor, is you're realizing the areas for development and you're just trying to fine tune all the time rather than thinking, well, our last fight I lost, I shouldn't have lost, I'm better than that, and just keeping that track, but you're trying to pick up more skills, right?
That's it. Well, I've made that mistake before. Everyone's got a little bit of doubt in them, but I went through a phase. I was 8-0 in amateur at one point. I was doing very well, smashing everyone's head in, got a few titles, but then I went on a loss streak of 3, I think. And then from then, I just lost my confidence a little bit, and it carried over to pro. And I think that the whole thing about it, I was so scared and embarrassed to look at myself even losing on the videos. And I'd never go back and revise them. So the only revision that I was getting was in my own head. And in my own head, it's always a lot worse than what it is in real life as well. When you're in there, you're thinking that man's invincible. You think, it's like you dream. When you hit someone as hard as you can, they don't move, and you're like, oh, it's like that in real life. And I'm going, come on, I can't do this. But I'm trying to focus a little bit more now. Well, I am focusing a little bit more now. I've watched all my videos back. My takedown defense just hasn't been there. My striking is good. My submission rate's good. Takedown defense is terrible on statistics. So that's what we're going to be working on lately. And it was just getting that fear of embarrassment out the way of watching yourself get beat. You got to overcome that to learn from it. So I'd happily sit there and watch that last fight. If it means I'm not going to get beat again, so I'll watch it for 6 hours today.
Thanks for sharing the last fight you had with Adam and some other fights that you've mentioned. Can I ask, of all the fights that you've had, what has been the most rewarding fight and for what reason?
You know what? It was probably, I've had a few rewarding ones. I'm gonna have to name a couple. ACB was pretty rewarding. I was supposed to be fighting last minute against some top Russian guy. You know, I was obviously getting flown in to get beat, and they give me a good purse. I was skint before Christmas. I think I had like 50 quid left in the bank, and he said, "We're gonna give you 3 grand for fighting. We'll give you 5 grand if you win, and you get 10 grand for sub of the night." So I thought, too right, I go over there. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get the job done. Terrible weight cut, same as the Sam Creasy, 8 kilo, 2 days, spewing everywhere, exact same results. Thankfully, though, the Russian was not allowed to get in at the border. He got stopped at the border in Germany. All the Russians did. Don't know why. So they had to get the lad changed to a Swiss guy who was a leg lock specialist. But I love my leg locks, so I was just absolutely made up. I had no energy, but I was bouncing around the hotel room going, "Oh my god, this is great! I'm gonna leg lock it." And then he came out. He literally went from my heel straight away. I got a standing heel look. So we got a nice payout off that. It was a 10-second fight, and I thought that was definitely worth the risk for going there. But as for hard work and emotions, it's got to be the old Gorman fight for me. I was going through some personal stuff at the time, which just makes everything a lot harder anyway. You know, you got your personal, then you got your training. Your training's already hard enough. You're at the elite level in the world, but you got a little bit going on. It's harder to fight then. But I ended up getting the fight camp done. I was working with Paul. I had some great jiu-jitsu coaches working with me, Connor, Tony. I was even going to other different camps and getting everything done. And then Dan's had me in a flying triangle the whole of the second round. Flying triangle armbar. I think it was about 3.5 minutes. I was stuck in it. I've got a funny story about that as well. It was Connor, classic Connor. He's a sausage sometimes. He set the timer for 3-minute rounds instead of 5-minute rounds on Cage Warriors. And he just went, "Hey, you've only got 30 seconds left." And it's been 2 minutes 30. And I thought, "Oh, go on, I can survive that." And he went, No, you dickhead. He hasn't. He's got 2 minutes 30. His dad was screaming at him. I thought, fuck. But you know what? If he didn't tell me that I only had 30 seconds left, I might have tapped. So that's a little blessing again. And the fact that I actually got out of that triangle and I ended up winning the fight in the last round with the KO. So that was just the icing on the cake for me. That was really, I thought, yeah, this is paid off here. On the big show as well, which is what matters the most.
Well, those are the risks, because it was a high risk for that and for the fact that you had an ACB, but the rewards are just awesome, man. They're really sweet,
That's
right?
The high is high, but the lows are low, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how you know you're doing something enjoyable, I think. You know, if the lows aren't that low, it's not really worth doing, to be honest. You're not putting yourself in that much of a risk to get the highest reward out of it. You know, there has to be an end goal. And I've always dreamed big, to be honest. I still think I'm going to get in the UFC and still think I'm going to be Cage Warriors world champion. Just that it hasn't happened yet, that's all. My mate Mick Stano, I haven't talked to him in a while, but he said, no matter what your record is, no matter how hard it can be, how hard the fights that you have, you're only 2 fights away from the biggest fight of your life. If you win them 2, your good thing can happen. And he proved that to me when he was training with me. He was on I think a 2-fight loss streak. 2 fights, Cage Warriors, 5-fight deal off them, and he was getting title shots offered to him in the lineup. So I thought, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it. Lee Chadwick's the same. Lee Chadwick, he was a bit up and down his professional career, but he's absolutely smashing it now. I think he was Cage Warriors world champion. Now he's fighting on Bellator. It's just, if you can look at these people and think, that's where I'm going to get my inspiration from, even though they're not like the UFC level yet, they're the level I'm at the minute. And I just need to figure out what they've done and work that for myself. You know, I believe I can get there.
You mentioned Lee Chadwick. I've got him ended this week to do a podcast with him as well, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah,
the difficult thing is, kind of with this pandemic that we're in, is for people to try to get the training in. What are you doing to kind of keep training? Have you got like a support bubble that you're in, and are you getting to train daily, or how's your routine changed because of the pandemic?
I'm training. I say daily. I mean, the mate lad I'm training with, he keeps on calling me a fanny because I miss a few days of a week now and again when my body's sore. But I've been training at about 7:30 till 10 o'clock every morning, and the thing is with Liverpool at the minute, it's bad enough for police anyway, but the additional fines, and everyone's a little bit worried about getting the money took off them. It's not the best financial situation for everyone. So it's hard to get the training in. And even though we are pro athletes, when police come knocking on the door and the coach isn't a pro athlete, I've got no date booked for the fight, there's still fines getting issued out. So it's making everything a lot harder. And we don't really need that, you know. I'm just trying to get a bit of training done in the morning. I'll do a little bit of a night. I want to get some jiu-jitsu done. But it's so hard at the minute, lad. People's lives are being ruined by this, and it's a bit shit, to be honest.
And one thing I want to ask you, Conor, is which I'm asking a lot of athletes. If there's a young person who's recently started in on the MMA journey, what would you say to them if they're 5 years behind you as words of encouragement, or what would you ask them to kind of focus on to get you to where you are now?
You know what, I'd say just don't give up. Just keep that focus. Like, I could have given up when I was 17 and I was working as an engineer, and I absolutely fucking hated the job. I didn't really like the boss at the time. He was always undermining me, making me feel stupid and stuff like that. So it wasn't my cup of tea. And if I would have stuck at that, I would have been unhappy for the rest of my life. So if I was going to say to a kid, whether it's to do with fighting, whether it's to do with anything, just do what makes you happy. But the money is always going to come. People think money's the main issue, but listen, I'm skint now, but I'm happy. I'm doing the job that I love. I'm going to work every day with my best mates. I'm teaching people how to fight, and I'm helping young kids get better, and I'm performing on the highest level in the world. So that's my dream already, and it's only the money's gonna keep coming in eventually. But I'd say to a kid, just keep the dream, just don't ever quit, and no matter how many people tell you that you can't do, you can.
The plan is that once you've had your fight, whenever that is, to then do another podcast for maybe 15, 20 minutes to talk about the outcome of that fight, so that people kind of follow you on your MMA journey, if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too long. It'll be about March, April. But I'll just keep posted and let everyone know. Yeah, we'll see what happens with this lockdown and stuff.
Conor, thank you, my friend, and hopefully catch you on the other side, brother.
You too. Thanks, mate. See you in a bit.
See you later, my friend. Bye-bye.